I can still remember the exact moment my world came crashing down, like it was yesterday. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, the day I found out I was going to be a father. I'd imagined that moment countless times, picturing the joy that would flood through me when my wife, Emily, told me we were going to have a baby. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for the bombshell that was about to drop. The day started off like any other. I came home from work, exhausted but content, eager to see Emily. We'd been married for 5 years, and while our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were happy. I thought we were solid. But I was about to discover just how wrong I was. As soon as I walked in, I knew something was off. Emily was sitting on the couch, her face pale and her hands clenched tightly in her lap. She didn't greet me with her usual smile. She didn't even look up when I called her name. My heart started pounding in my chest as I walked over to her, my mind racing with possibilities. Had something happened? Was she sick? Emily, what's wrong? I asked, reaching out to touch her hand. She flinched away from me, and that's when I knew, whatever was going on, it was bad. Really bad. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice trembling. But you have to promise you won't freak out. A pit opened up in my stomach. What could she possibly have to say that would make me freak out? What is it? Just tell me, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. She took a deep breath, her eyes finally meeting mine, and in that moment, I saw something that made my blood run cold. It was a mixture of guilt and fear, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm pregnant, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. For a split second, I felt a surge of joy. Pregnant. We were going to have a baby. But then I saw the look on her face, the way she was biting her lip as if waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that's when it happened. But there's something else, she continued, her voice shaking now. This child isn't yours. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at her, my mind struggling to process what she had just said. What do you mean it's not mine? I finally managed to choke out. She looked away, tears streaming down her face. It's your brother's, she said. Time seemed to stop. The room spun around me, and I felt like I was going to be sick. My brother. My own flesh and blood. How could this be happening? How the hell could she do this to me? How could you do this to me? I shouted, jumping up from the couch. With my brother? Are you kidding me, Emily? She started to cry harder, but I didn't care. My head was spinning with betrayal and rage. This was beyond anything I could have imagined. My wife, the woman I loved, had slept with my brother, and now she was pregnant with his child. I felt like I was going to explode. It was a mistake, she sobbed. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear, we were drunk, and it just happened. I'm so sorry. But her apology only made me angrier. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was trying to blame this on being drunk, on it just happening. That wasn't a mistake. That was a deliberate betrayal. She had lied to me, cheated on me, and now she was trying to act like it was some kind of accident. How long has this been going on? I demanded, my voice shaking with fury. How long have you been screwing my brother behind my back? She hesitated, and in that moment, I knew she was about to lie to me again. I could see it in her eyes, the way she was searching for the right words to cover her tracks. It was just that one time, she said, her voice barely audible. I swear, it didn't mean anything. I wanted to believe her, but I knew better. I could see the guilt all over her face, the way she couldn't even look me in the eye. My mind was racing, trying to piece together how long this had been going on, how deep the betrayal really was. And then, as if the universe wasn't done screwing me over, there was a knock at the door. I didn't even have time to react before it swung open, and there stood my brother Mark, with our parents right behind him. Pace, Mark started, his voice full of fake sympathy. We need to talk. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My own family standing there like they were about to stage some kind of intervention. My head was spinning with rage and confusion. What the hell is this? I snarled, glaring at Mark. You think you can just waltz in here and… But my mother cut me off, her voice calm, almost patronizing. Pace, we're here to support Emily and Mark. This is a difficult situation, but it's important that we all stick together as a family. My jaw dropped. Support them? Are you out of your mind? She cheated on me with him. She's carrying his child. My father stepped forward, his face a mask of stern disapproval. Pace, this isn't about blame. It's about doing what's right for the child. Emily made a mistake, but we need to move past it. Your brother is willing to take responsibility, and we need to support them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own parents were taking their side, as if this was something I could just move past. They were treating it like it was some minor inconvenience, not the complete and utter betrayal that it was. No, I said, shaking my head in disbelief. No way. You expect me to just accept this, to let them get away with this. It's not about getting away with anything, my mother insisted, her tone still infuriatingly calm. It's about doing what's best for everyone involved. Emily and Mark are going to raise this child together, and we're going to be there for them. I felt the world spinning out of control, like I was trapped in some kind of nightmare. My wife had betrayed me, my brother had betrayed me, and now my own parents were turning their backs on me. It was like everything I knew, everything I believed in, had been ripped away in an instant. As I stood there, staring at the people who were supposed to love and support me, I felt something dark and cold settle into my chest. This wasn't just betrayal, this was war. And if they thought I was going to roll over and accept this, they were dead wrong. Revenge was inevitable. They wanted to play dirty. Fine. I'd show them just how dirty I could get. The betrayal was a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. My wife, my brother, my parents, every single one of them had turned against me, and I could feel the walls closing in. But underneath the anger and the pain, something else was brewing, a cold, calculating resolve. They thought they could destroy my life and get away with it. They had no idea who they were dealing with. The next few days were a blur. I barely ate, barely slept, my mind racing as I tried to figure out what to do next. Emily, no, I couldn't even call her my wife anymore, stayed with my parents, avoiding me like the plague, as if she were the victim here. My brother Mark had the nerve to show up at our house, claiming he needed to talk, to make things right, but I wasn't interested in his pathetic excuses. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just about what they had done. It was about the fact that they thought they could do it without consequences, that they could screw me over and just walk away, leaving me to pick up the pieces. I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't. The plan started to take shape in the middle of another sleepless night. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when it hit me. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd play dirtier. But I had to be smart about it. I couldn't just lash out. I needed to hit them where it hurt, to destroy them from the inside out. The first step was gathering information. I needed to know everything: how long the affair had been going on, what lies Emily and Mark had told to cover their tracks, and just how deep this betrayal really ran. So I started digging. I went through Emily's phone records, emails, anything I could get my hands on. It wasn't easy. She had been careful, but not careful enough. I found texts between her and Mark, messages that made my blood boil. They had been seeing each other for months, sneaking around behind my back, making plans for their future together. The baby wasn't just a mistake. It was the culmination of their twisted little fantasy. But that wasn't all I found. There were other messages too, between Emily and my parents. It turned out they had known about the affair for a while. They hadn't just supported it after the fact, they had encouraged it. My own parents had been complicit in the betrayal, helping them cover it up, pretending everything was fine while they waited for the right moment to drop the bomb on me. I felt sick reading those messages, but I forced myself to keep going. I needed every scrap of information I could find. The more I knew, the more powerful my revenge would be. The next step was setting things in motion. I needed to play the part of the broken, defeated husband, the man who was willing to forgive, to move on. It wasn't easy. Every time I saw Emily, I wanted to scream at her, to make her feel the pain she had caused me. But I kept my cool. I had to. If I showed my hand too soon, the whole plan would fall apart. I started by reaching out to Mark, pretending that I wanted to talk, to find a way to move past what had happened. He was hesitant at first. He knew I was furious, and I could see the guilt in his eyes every time we spoke. But I played it cool, convincing him that I just wanted to make things right for the sake of the family. We met up at a bar a few days later, a place we used to go to when we were younger, before everything went to hell. Mark looked nervous, like he was waiting for me to explode. But I didn't. I kept the conversation light, talking about old times, about how things had gotten so complicated. He started to relax, to believe that I was really going to let this go. You know, I never wanted it to be like this, Mark said after a few drinks, his voice slurring slightly. Emily, she's just... I don't know, man. It just happened. I wanted to punch him in the face right then and there, but I held back. Yeah, I said, nodding slowly. Things got out of hand, but we're family, right? We'll figure it out. He looked relieved, almost grateful, and I knew I had him right where I wanted him. Over the next few weeks, I kept up the act, pretending that I was willing to forgive, to move forward. I even started going to family dinners again, sitting across from Emily and Mark, smiling through gritted teeth as they played house in front of our parents. It was sickening, but I knew it was necessary. I needed them to trust me, to believe that I was really moving on. But behind the scenes, I was putting the final pieces of my plan into place. First, I went to a lawyer, one of the best in town, someone who had no problem getting his hands dirty. I laid out everything I had found, all the evidence of the affair, the lies, the manipulation. He was impressed, to say the least. You've got a solid case, he said, leaning back in his chair with a smirk. We can bury them with this. Good, I said, my voice cold. I want to make sure they never see it coming. Next, I started working on the financial side of things. Emily and I had a joint account, but I had my own savings too. Money she didn't know about, money I had kept separate just in case. I started moving funds around, shifting things into accounts she couldn't touch, making sure that when the time came, she'd be left with nothing. Finally, I set up a meeting with a private investigator. I wanted to make sure there were no loose ends, no surprises. The PI was thorough, digging into every aspect of Emily and Mark's lives, finding out things even I hadn't known. It turned out Mark had been involved in some shady business deals, things that could easily come back to haunt him if they ever came to light. Emily, on the other hand, had been hiding her own secrets, things she wouldn't want anyone, especially Mark, to find out. As the pieces fell into place, I felt a cold satisfaction settling over me. They had no idea what was coming. They thought they had won, that they had broken me, but they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The day of reckoning was coming, and when it did, I was going to destroy them, every last one of them. Episode